So I think we should continue with some kind of intrigue about the we, understanding the complexities through a singular mind, what it means to be a unified we. As let's say Prometheus said on Friday, my pardons, Thursday, the idea of the unum we as a group, the we that we are, the we that you don't understand from an individual point of view. And since, we'll do some recapping here, and since you were born as an individual, not knowing you were collected, then of course, to become we cannot be thought about through a structure of thinking. Why? Well, hell, let's just take a wild guess at it. We'll take a stab. Well, because you have no reference. In an evolutionary track such as human, you must have references, building blocks, stepping stones, rungs of the ladder, ways to move yourself forward, casting your hopes into the future and tugging yourself along, catching up to the point of the next idea, self. Pulling, pulling, getting through life. See, the concept must be extinguished, not as a separation idea to be banished, but not as the leader, but more so as a complementary. We're talking about the individual, our parts. You have an individual portion of you over here, hi, and then you have the whole, hi, right? So this individual self knows itself as the fractal, as the consciousness, as the pride, as the hopeful, as the obligatory, as the respectful and the regretful. It has the human dynamic as its thrusting palette of life to live on a daily basis. And it loves itself for it. Make no mistake about that. You are in love with your human. It is an extraordinary feat to accomplish, to brave, to experience. I believe so. Yes. However, through your journeys, you have found a point of view, exceptional, very rare, truly. And we're talking, of course, in a comparison proportion to how many humans are running around in the dynamic history of humanity. Very few find the point of view you have found. Self-awareness of we. Realizing connection. Part of. And then the mind, the ego, the self-sustaining individual, proceeds its life in a new way. And then you get new experiences. And you are a new you. Yet, the divisional stays strong. And it's quite tiresome, taxing, frustrating. A lot of the awake asleep out there are awake about themselves being asleep. They're frustrated still. They have their awareness, but they still feel the same. Their relationship to reality is still confined to the individual portion of itself as the experiencer. Take note of that. Important, yes it is, to be aware of that self. It teaches you, it tells you, you're still choosing the individual. Back to the idea of the we that Prometheus brought to us. See, the we doesn't explain itself. It doesn't justify itself. It doesn't define itself. It doesn't know itself as truth. It is. That's it. That's the weirdest thing in the world. It doesn't have to do anything to itself in order to know itself, because it's knowing itself. It is the current. It is the everlasting. And the concept of that from an individual mind leads to processes, ways about it. Look at your histories. Who's right? The Buddhists? The Hindus? Who's right? Zens? Teos? Muslims? Christians? Catholics? Protestants? Who's right? Which way is right? All of them. To the individual. Of course. It's the passion. It's the love. It's the beauty of that. But no. You want to know something else. You want to not be afraid about the individual any longer. You don't want to hope for acceptance. You don't want to be judged for expression. I bet your sweet ass you want this. You want freedom from abundance, money. You want freedoms from the futures and the past. You want to be current. Oh, yes, you do. It is your natural state. Anything else is the ego telling you what to be, which is an individual point of view, to stay as a collective, individualized. See, the conundrum or the paradox is you are an individual already connected. It's just the realization of it. And the path that you know yourself as an individual can't be used as a resource to understand the unum, the we, the I am that is all that is simultaneously. So, how do we proceed? Intuition, maybe? Well, us teachers up here, we debate things, we talk about things, we relative our reality, but we don't debate in right and wrong. We offer, and then we explore. I don't know if any of you ever played a game of chess, but you move one piece, and there's several other moves after that. So we explore the lines and probabilities using our, me and you, this class point of view, vibrationally, histories, constructs, to explore certain ways to bring things about to you as a potential. Now, why do we do this? Why don't we just leave it to the now? Well, we are in one way, but in another way, we are timed with you. So we have time to look around and explore certain ways. And if let's say you walk into a room and you have two choices, iced tea, one choice, sweet iced tea, two choice. Well, it's still iced tea, but there's a variation of it. So it's still your vibration, but there's a frequency change. That's all. I think I'm going to have a little sip of tea myself. Can I have some eyes, Roxanne? Do you have any? Oh, yes. She has some available. How sweet. There we go. It's always good. Always good. Okay, let's get back to it. So many people, including some of the students here in class, have conceived that the ego must be destroyed. It's not destroyable. It is a portion of you. It's just a point of view. It is when you look at a color green and one day you have the ability to change green into blue. It's still the same object. It's just colored different. Points of view, which are what? Truths. The way you filter or unfilter reality. The reality that's coming in is going to be its signature no matter what you do about it because you have no say in whatever anything else is. What you are is the interpreter of all truths. All truths are true to the eye of the beholder. So you get to interpret your reality. Yay. Okay. So this egoic self demands truths, demands certainty, demands its own identification, right? So it's very difficult to extinguish your love, isn't it? Because that's what it is. It's your truth. It always has been, always will be. Particular nows in your time, this was not your truth, but it is in one time or now a truth. That's all. So first off, you can't get vexing towards your regretful past or your futuristic hopes. Don't be anything to them. Be now to yourself, okay? So clear the palate. Now, let's look at this egoic self that you want to extinguish or destroy, make go away because it's taxing in your mind and it keeps talking to you and talking to you. And as soon as something happens, it gives you all the offerings of the probabilities of a measurement scale, even good or bad. It doesn't matter. It's polarized and it's becoming burdensome to be a polarized being when you know you are collected. I believe so. Okay. So let's look at this ego as a structure firstly. Identify it from a point of view, a self that you have an ability to express, becoming and using as an opportunistic time of awareness, the observer of the ego, as well as the collective of creation. The collective that is your reality now is your vibrational match. You know that, so you can't do anything about that. You can piss yourself off, but then you're the ego, right? You can be ruffled about it, but then that's a potential of the ego to be ruffled. That's the observer, right? To see its fractal self and creation as a subjective point of view or an objective point of view. You understand these things. You are masters. Okay, good.
Obviously, much larger sums to come as we move ahead over the spending review period without any and also announced funding for further city.
So, the ego is a vibrational truth. Becomes alive. Whole, ego, whole, a blending of the two, doesn't matter. Truly, the ego cannot be measured. But my friends, it can be harnessed. It can be yoked. It is the leader of you. Even when it's leading you into suicide, it is still leading you. It is a very powerful creator. It is you. It is not a separate you. It does not have its own will. You are the will of the ego. You are the creator in your world. Nothing in your world that you create is objective of you. They have no say in how you feel about your relationship to reality, period. Oh, you can have objects shoot you. You, as an ego object, can shoot you, the consciousness, the physical body. Sure. It can lead you to those points. It can lead you to great things in the eyes of humanity, celebrities, doctors, lawyers, PhDs, wonderful mothers, grandmothers, producing fabulous family love. You can do a lot of things with the ego. It is not to be understood as an enemy, but is to be understood as a tool. But the relationship with the ego is egoic when the consciousness views it as that. So let's strip away, just for a moment, the consciousness of the ego as a negative or positive being. Your point of view making the ego good, bad, indifferent, right? About reality we're talking. Does the power still there exist as a creator? Well, of course. So how do you yoke the power? The creative skill of a time-based, exceptionally educated point of view with no fear. That's how you do it. You don't make excuses. You don't hesitate. And when you make a decision, for God's sakes, don't ever fucking question it. Because that's the ego being polarized. The ego that chose to paint the nails Lincoln Brown. Lincoln Park After Dark. Thank you, Roxanne. The idea of Gina. And then she added her touch of sparkles. Needs no question. Or the ego that questions. And she validates the questioning. Now that ego becomes the creator of polarity. So let's look at now, you're starting to see what the ego truly is. Isn't the ego the one mind that's been split into two? See, how can you get rid of a portion of the whole? When we mean we doesn't mean some of we. We is all of us. I think you need to see that. Let's look at that. Let's be really aware of the ego itself being an asset, an ally. Because when it is the truth of the truth when it is the ego, is the truth that you choose to be true of a polarized world, then you have that experience. Who created that experience? Well, the whole did. But the ego is the structure that reacted to it at that point until the consciousness realizes the ego did not create polarity, but the consciousness, you, allowed yourself to choose the truth that was historical and now has been identified as an egoic structure. Okay? But it's truly not. Who's doing all the work here? The ego? No, you. To be unified in your mind is to lose two minds and become one. There was a great representation on your planet. The Dark Crystal, a wonderful movie. You are the Dark Crystal, and there is a shard, and that's your little ego self, outside of the whole, demanding upon the crystal to make itself great, when all it must do is join it. The ego, through historical means, offers history. Those historical memories, those vibrational matches that occur in the situations of the day, give you the potential to be a point of view of an egoic structure that we've labeled. But see, who's creating that? The unified mind. The unified mind is creating that. The unum is creating that point of view. You get to choose the point of view. So the ego now is truly not an ego. It's your will. It's your center point of creation. It's your isness. It's not defined as just that, because the will is all that is. But it is the portion that you're being that's been creating a life of egoic measurements, human. Because that's the only thing is this conscious has been focusing on. And of course, that's why you have a world of cycles and polarity. This has been well explained in your classes. Well explained. Tea time. There's some raspberry tea. Thank you, Tammy. So, let's continue. The divisionary mind wants to know how the ego is separated so it understands the definition. So the ego structure of history comparison, that structure there that creates an ego, wants to know how to be the ego unified. And if it only knows separation that we as a collective have deemed the egoic structure, then it must use those resources. But if you take the ego and harness it as a willful participant of the creation that you are, then your actions will only be egoic if you choose them to be. And then you'll remember the will that has the secret ingredient that Jennifer's been looking for. The decisions of intention, the wants and the needs to create because you live in time. Well, you have it already. It's always been there. But the way you've been creating it is a polarized point of view. You've been wielding the power as a polarity egoic structure. Look around. You have a president that wants to kill everybody. And you have the means to do it. You have people that want to kill each other all the time. Look how much power the ego is creating. Do you think that power is ungodly, undeserving, unwilling? Oh, of course not. Oh, okay. You've created good stuff. You created industry. You've created buildings, architectures, ways to supply the planet with things. Okay? All of this is a unified mind. It's just that you've never been aware of it. But when you start to be the creator, and this is the no fear aspect I spoke of earlier, then you might start to understand that your actions cannot be deemed as measured. And you will, and this is where it just doesn't make sense. You will feel your creator once again. The individual singularity creator that is creation, always creating, always. So it's a point of view. It doesn't have conceptual ideas. It doesn't be drawn on a map, and it can't be thought about. So Brent, you gotta stop thinking about what this fucking means and start living the life of now with no hesitation, no delay, and realizing, just having a point of view, I am using my ego to create my reality, and I embrace this self of willingness that has no delay or hesitation upon its own expression, for I would only slap myself in the face with the disdain of my own birthing right as existence. That's an egoic structure that gets to do that. That's the leader of the consciousness that's defining itself as unworthy. And that's the consciousness now, you knowing that is a point of view to be as a creator. So this unified mind beginning to merge in your point of view. See, it's always been there, but you believe, trust, know that you are separate from reality as a foreboding idea, as the center point of your existence. Very scary, because that extinguish would give you the idea of death, but not the death of human death. That's easy death. No. Existence death. That's your greatest fear. No way to know you are existence. That you are always existence. Then you know yourself as not, and you are trying your damnedest to preserve that point of view. Humanity is a hostile place to live. It is dynamically a death trap. So many every day experience births and deaths, recycles of all human dynamic every single day, and such a taxing, burdensome, heavy, woeful world masterclass. But see, that's not the part that's brave. The bravery is to know yourself as not, and then fight for it. You are not all it is. You've always known the we. That's your core fear. So you do not try to get to know that. Separation in the idea to know the unknown of connection, but to know the self that is creating the disconnection, this ego. This is why you explore every portion of yourself with embracement that has no wavering, lest ye are a coward to your own vision or rights of existence. That's the choice. You time. The species around you are connected. You see that. They live with no remorse. They just are themselves. The lion does not know the difference, does not have compassion for eating an antelope or a water buffalo. It doesn't see the difference of reality. It is its truth. It does not consider. It does not hesitate. But see, these are the structures of ego that give you the hesitations and the considerations, the decencies, the morals, the rights and the wrongs, the polarity in and of itself that keeps you hesitated. But what does it do? What does it do in itself? It reinforces the dignity of the ego, the existent self, the fighting for the preserved that you consider as you. Awareness, relationship, realization, observation. The work that is the mastery that doesn't require muscle, sweat, blood, and tears. Tears, very much so. Cancel that. Lots of energetic emotion. To go and rip yourself apart, all of your truths, and look at each individual one of them as an embracer of reality, including all the covets of the ego, to yoke its power and wield it as a god with no hesitation, telling anyone that abrupts your rhythm of life, that are an inconvenience to you, that are taxing, to be your truth without hesitation, whatever that truth is, with no conditioning or consideration for the righteousness of human laws. Because human laws are righteousness to human. Unum laws are righteous to the self. The eye of the beholder is the truth. Be that. See, these don't lead to tangible outcomes. They lead to expressive self-realization, remembrances, realization of the egoic self that is a unified mind, that is the will of the now, that creates my reality. And now you're getting into the driver's seat. By not using the driver's seat as a leader of polarity, as an egoic structure, but stripping the ego out of that unified mind, that power, that ego redefined as the will of you, the isnness, the choice, my existence, my I am, I get to use, because I am the consciousness that creates all of this. Seth is an amazing channel. If there's anything you learn from Seth, everything is relationship to reality. The rest is candy, points of view, good stuff, exceptional stuff to everything, everyone, good stuff here and there, tidbits, golden nuggets. But that one tells you the key. You are the truth to your reality no matter what. Any signature can be their truth. Anyone can command and demand on you a point of view, and you can still say no. You are the acceptance of criticism. That's the egoic truth. You are the creator of critique. That's the egoic structure of judgment. Everything is point of view, relative reality. This would I believe this is why, I think I need some water. The classes are difficult. I definitely need some water. This is why I believe it's difficult for humanity to accept these classes at a mass level, because they have no egoic structures of the defined idea of success. There's no processes here. Is that enough? No, that's not enough. That's not enough. Oh, it's interesting having legs. I have roots, not legs. But I definitely need water. Yeah. I mean, I don't need enough for me in the way I drink. I just need enough for the parchment of Roxanne's mouth. And of course, a little bit for me. So anyways, let me get back to the point. Yes. Here, let me just say this. When you realize yourself as a point of view, and you command that point of view with truth, and the truth that feels a recognizable polarity, is a truth of self-preservation structure that we as the class and humanity has named the egoic self. And this is not to be extinguished, it is to be embraced. It is to be willed, it is to be yoked. And as you become a point of view, realizing that you're choosing to critique humanity in an egoic structure of this is my expression of ego polarized, then you know the consequences to one mind and the results to another mind, the attraction mind that we're talking, is the same frequency within the bounds of your consideration of polarity. So it's always been you, the whole fucking time, that create, attract truth, realizing reality. That is your match. And the ego that can be harnessed now is a portion of you that must be embraced if you will care to know it as a portion of you that is creating. And since you know that portion of you as the egoic self of existence that has a hell of a lot of experience in polarity, then why not use it as an asset, a tool, an ally, something to be wielded at your beck and call. It's done every day. When you eat, you don't consider that egoic, but it is not egoic. What is it? Creating. You think that food is really in the fridge? You think it's on your fork? You think you're really putting it into your mouth? You're creating it. All of it. All of it. Nothing stands anywhere in this test of time. Time is empty. It has no reservations for you to come in and have a table set. It doesn't have that waiting for you. Time, histories, and futures are now creations from the truth of the self. The egoic structure that you have forgotten is your point of what? Willingness. It's happening around you every now, every day, everywhere you go. You are creator. I like teas because I do get some tea gross where I am at. And when it is a nice steamy day and the canopy produces an excellent amount of dew, then I get the drippings of tea in my roots and I can taste fruits. Tea is an exceptional. Moss, tea, true. Okay. You know, Roxy looks forward to things. I'm watching her, feeling her. She has this center point of view and she's intrigued with the class, but she has thousands of things echoing in her mind. See, sometimes that discourages you, right? And Roxy's very excited about time. You all know the story about the apartment. Very exciting. She went looking for pieces and yesterday found this nice little country hutch that would wonderful in the kitchen. A couple of shelves, just perfect spot. Creator. What's wrong with looking forward to things? Well, it's how you relate to it. What's wrong with using time as creation to perceive? Well, how you relate to it. Would be wrong in a right and wrong measurement, or would be right in a right and wrong world of measurement. Or how about it'll just be? Although there's a habit of the egoic structure. You look forward to things. You tend to keep your focus in the future and not to relative yourself to the now. That gets up a little bit taxing. You forget what you're doing, right? You're not in the now. Your mind is elsewhere. It's just an awareness. You can be observant of it and know that there's not much you can do about something that's happening in a month from now, but you can feel it and create with it. You can start to dream and do those things, but how do you relate to it? If you move yourself from an idea of a creator of that moment to becoming hopeful of that moment, well, then your relationship has turned into the structure of the individual. This is your master awareness. This is why I think humanity has such tough times with this class. Because there's no tangibles. Everything is your work in the now, truly, on how to express your egoic self now to be a creator self, and using that with no hesitation or delay, or sinking yourself back into the point of view of polarized and unworthy. Mind traps everywhere, right? Just a plethora of ways to become structured instantaneously. Frustrating, but truly master work. The depth of this work is incredible. It has no comparison to the books and the tests you wield yourself as you breed. That's kindergarten, child's play. Need to know yourself. Oh, incredible. So anyways, so you continue to do these classes with each other, using each other as ideas, discovering your own weaknesses of your own egoic structure, how easy it is to be an ego, to bring that weakness into an acceptance, to not be viewed as a weakness, but of an embracement, of a creator portion of yourself that didn't make a mistake or that went back to the drama, but now to see that creator that is dramatized, that is weak, that is embracing all of its selves, to know thyself as whole, as we. I think that's good.
I'd like to ask a question. Can you remind me the definition of subjective and objective?
Well, if you are considered an ego, okay, so let's go back to the reference of the Dark Crystal. Have you viewed this movie?
I don't believe so, no.
You, the movie buff, have never seen the Dark Crystal.
Is that the one with David Bowie?
No, that would be Labyrinth.
Okay.
Or Labyrinth. That's some people, but Labyrinth to me. All right, so the Dark Crystal, take consideration a 6 foot, 7 foot crystal cut into diamond shape on the top all the way down, very large. Can you see that in your mind?
Yes.
Now take a portion of it and chip away. About this big. Take that chip and move it outside of the self. Okay, it was a crystal as a whole self. Now it is a shard of the whole. Do you see that?
Yes.
So this shard that becomes an identity, an ego, looks at creation as what? An object. Okay?
Yeah.
Are you following?
Yes,
Because now the dark crystal, or you, this portion of fractal, sees the world as over there. That's a computer. That's a desk. That's my mom. That's my dad. That's my desk. Those are objects. Objective point of view. I am outside of the dark crystal. Do you see that?
Yes.
Wonderful. Now, to be subjective is I am the creator of all my projections. These are my creations, not in ownership, not in egoic structure. See, because when something of your creation doesn't act in accord to your egoic standards, then you get pissed off at objects and you become objectified. This is why you have the tolerance of allowance. So you can see creation just doing its thing. That is a match to your truth to give you an experience that is immeasurable. So subjective point of views, and if you can go back and review Tilly's class. No, I'm sorry. I think it was Aeropostle. No, that's the clothing store. Aristotle. Thank you. Aristotle did a objective, subjective on Roxanne's channel. Gave a great dissertation of the points of view. But to give you a condensed version, maybe Cliff Notes, this point of view here is I am subjective to my world. It is my creation. It's my point of view on how I relate to the world. Those objects are not causing me objectively to feel a certain way. I am subjectively agreeing or disagreeing with the objects, but they're not objective. They're my points of view. So when you put your self back into the dark crystal becomes light, and then you can see all of your creation, and everything around you is your vibrational match, your creative skill, your truth. Does this maybe offer some clarity?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. I don't have lips. Cheeks. I don't breathe this way. I do breathe. Let me give you something about the trees, the forest. You have a civilization here called the Terrapian. They are a portion of creation. You have a leader, if you would, that breathes itself as part of the tree collective, Gongolina. Maybe some of you have heard of her through Roxanne's channeling. But we are trees as well. There's a portion of us that are not part of the Terrapian civilization. They are incarnating as a creative incarnation as a tree. We would be the indigenous that were birthed upon this planet as part of co-creation with Gaia. Some trees are what you would consider alien, and some are planet. I would be of that venture. Greetings. So anyways, what I wanted to make a point of is relax. Keep using us. Paper, hold up your houses, walk on us as a boardwalk. It's quite experiencingly beautiful when we get used. I mean, there's only so much wildlife we can take. Don't be afraid to cut us down and turn us into Christmas wrapping, so I can feel the experience of being unwrapped and watching the glorious idea eyes from a child. In other words, don't be so damn obtuse. Be objective. Start being subjective. What does that mean? Take the point of view of the paper. That's what we mean by we. All right, I think that's all I've got. Unless you guys got questions, I can stick around and talk to you. Brent, you had your hand up. I don't know if you still have it up.
Yeah, no, that was my question. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay. So let me sum up. Don't be afraid to express. Consider your ego now an asset. Yoke its strength. It's well versed with human. You don't need to be afraid of people. They are so afraid of themselves, it's incredible. And what higher act of love can you present other than being authentic to give the others that are objectified a subjective point of view, that they may do the same? I'll bid you a good day.